Welcome, you guys. This is our final broadcast for the 2026 Ryan Larkin Invitational Adventure Race. I'm currently in Ramona, California, drinking some coffee, just like we did out on the race. The temperature here is probably 50 degrees, a little bit warmer than it was in Colorado. Boy, what a crazy weekend we had. Can't believe it's already been a week. Lives were changed. People came out there and bonded. We saw the brotherhood. And in fact, we saw a lot of things. We saw half the teams didn't even make it halfway. We saw injuries, a lot of foot taping. Some people had to step out because of dehydration, or they had to um, just take a break and couldn't make the timeline, or didn't want to continue through day two. And the truth is, day one was rough. It was hot. It was rocky. There was a long stretch on Spring Creek's trail that actually rigged out a lot of guys. They just couldn't make it to the next aid station. And so we're looking at maybe shortening the distance between aid stations, but we really couldn't help the weather. It just got really hot and really dry. People aren't used to that altitude. Those that came out and didn't have any altitude training immediately felt some issues with their bodies. That combined with the long duration on the trail, the heat, just everything made people's bodies shut down. Now, I'll tell you, when I'm at altitude, I feel that my inflammation on any joints and injuries, it's amplified. As well as when you have lactic acid removal in a different pressure zone, sometimes that lactic acid stays within the muscles, and then that causes pain and fatigue, and you feel like you just don't understand why your body is not responding the way it did during training. And so that's why we suggested that everybody try to get to altitude if they can. It's a little bit unreasonable to get to an altitude chamber to train that way, but if you do have access to something like that, we had in the SEAL teams altitude chambers, so we could go train and sort of get ready before we landed somewhere in like Afghanistan or at a higher altitude. You need a couple of weeks for your body to adjust. Now, I know some teams were training at altitude, and you could see that, and you could tell. Some people have a mountaineering background, like the guy that finished first place, Andrew Peluso. And so you can see clearly that those people that had that specific type of training absolutely did better. Now, I'll say that Andrew Peluso finished first, Chris Call finished first, both Patriots. They were not able to serve in the military, but they strongly support our military. And then we had a lot of SEALs that finished in teams right after that. We also had some individual SEALs that finished, as well as some civilian groups. We had a lot of law enforcement and firefighter support out there. I'm thinking of Team VetNet with one of my SEAL buddies, Wade Warden, that I finished with, as well as some friends of mine that did some stuff with me over at Happy Canyon Ranch, Inch to Mile. But the winners of this event, and we'll go through the website here in a second and congratulate everyone, that was VetNet. VetNet has some people from 62 Romeo that I know that do the SEAL swim with us every year. I swear I didn't help them. They just came prepared. They had been doing a lot of training. I'm not sure if they did any of the altitude training, but I know, for example, Patrick Raymond, who is, I believe, the team captain of VetNet, all four people contributed in the same way. But Patrick, I know he just did the Great Wall of China run. And before that, he did another marathon and a triathlon, I believe. So he's always staying in shape. Chris Zorsi, 59 years old, completed with that team. Absolute stud. I mean, these guys are sending me text messages and videos. They're still training right now. Christian Dominguez, he's over at Paramount. He's a former, I believe you were in the Marine Corps, right, Christian? And did a tour in Iraq in 2004 that was very notable, but did a lot of time in the military, eventually got out and did some security service stuff. You should hear his story. He's got a lot of things that he did. And so Team VetNet together finished first and dominated the point score. So let's take a look at the points really quick. So here we are. Here's the website. race results. Okay, so we have 2,643 points that went to our group. Now we have Nevin grayed out here because Nevin, who we won't mention his last name, is still active duty with the SEAL teams. But this is an incredible score, and I'll show you the other scores. This means that not only did this team use their strategy to get the maximum points, but that equates to very fast finish times as well as completing challenges. They also raised $13,700 for our veterans and first responders through the Ryan Larkin Invitational Adventure Race Fund. And I'll tell you that that money goes directly towards two things. One, and this is exactly what we articulated in our IRS application for our 501c3 status, which we are an official registered nonprofit with the IRS. But we said, hey, we want to go run a race to raise money for some stuff that we've been doing that's very helpful. We've been doing it for years and with a specific focus on veterans and first responders. The first thing is 62 Romeo, which is something that I actually founded nearly 10 years ago. The real launch was in 2021, so that's about 5 years ago. But all of the precursors and education and all the things that led up to that started in 2017 when Ryan Larkin took his life. And I wear his bracelet every day. So at that time, I saw that we had a big need for sleep health improvement in the SEAL teams. And then I looked at the military at large, and they had some serious sleep problems. And then I looked at the entire country, and it turns out that a lot of us are short sleeping or not getting adequate sleep. So anyways, all that led to 62 Romeo, which is a 6-week sleep program. We have a SEAL platoon graduating now. In fact, I had to put them on hold for their graduation to finish up the Ryan Larkin race. But then we also have another SEAL cohort that we're funding through this race, through your efforts. They're going to be kicking off in the next couple weeks. So more to follow on that. We hope to continue to give scholarships. They're not cheap, but we don't want the veterans and first responders to pay for anything. We just want them to get the care that they need. This program is extremely effective, clinically significant data. We measure everything soup to nuts from beginning to end, objective, subjective measurements. And not everybody always hits all of their goals, but over the entire group of people, we've measured everybody from start to finish, from the very beginning to today. We measure everybody. What we see as the big thing here is that clinically significant means 25 or 30% improvement on sleep scores. And so we've seen that consistently. Some people are a little less and some people are drastically more. That means cutting insomnia in half, cutting anxiety in half, increasing deep sleep, increasing REM sleep, which is your dream sleep. Anyways, half of the funds are meant to go towards that program, scholarships for veterans and first responders, and we may get the occasional Patriot in there. But then the other half is going towards Happy Canyon Ranch retreats. Now, the reason we are doing Happy Canyon Ranch retreats is because after doing all these 62 Romeo courses and hundreds of graduates through this rigorous program, we realized that the truth is people just need to get out in nature and just let God's influence, which is the sunlight and the cold at night and all the elements that are present on our earth already, we just need to let those affect the individual. And so we do Happy Canyon Ranch retreats or 5-day retreats. Basically, you're just going out camping. We teach you how to build mud huts. We eat, clean food right off the grill, outdoors. It's incredible. And so that's kind of the evolution of 62 Romeo, is just bringing people out into nature. So those two things, that's what we're raising this money for. So when we look at the $13,700 that Patrick, Chris, Christian, and Evan raised, that money is a big deal. That's going to go to help a lot of people who are desperately in need and waiting for that. Next up, second place was somebody, a group of friends that I actually know very well, or at least I know Travis and David. They came out to a Happy Canyon Ranch retreat. Let's see. I'm going to see if we can get our wonderful Carly to join over a Zoom call. But anyways, inch to mile, I wasn't sure how they were going to do. I didn't hear much about their training. I knew they were training. Mike joined at the last minute. I know Patrick is in fire service and he stays in shape. But they came through there and absolutely crushed this. Not only did they get 13 points in a second place finish, but they raised $11,530 for our efforts. Third place, a narrow third place. These guys are neck and neck. We're bottom dwellers. Now listen, you can't start as a four-man team and finish as a one-man, two-man, three-man team. You have to finish together, all four of you. So part of this is that it's very difficult for all of you to stay healthy and together through this entire rigorous, crazy race. So inch to mile and bottom dwellers both finished with four-man teams. Bottom dwellers was very close behind with 1,100 points. And that is Brendan, Patrick, Joseph, and Joseph, Joe. They raised $10,835 for our fund, exceeding both these teams exceeded the $10,000 goal. We thank you very, very much. It's also interesting to note that these guys are all New York State Police dive team. So they're basically our SEAL brothers in a different branch doing different things. So they've got the dive training, they've got the physical fitness training, and that's why I think they did so well. All right, so moving right along, team number four, fourth place with 700 points is basically Pug. Now these guys are some studs. Wade Warden, I was in the SEAL teams with him. Jake, his brother, I believe he was Marine Recon. Nicholas and Damien. Nicholas is a veteran. I believe Damien's a Patriot. Forgive me if I'm messing that up. And those guys absolutely crushed it, and we actually had them picked for a first place finish. Oh, look, we have Carly. Looks like Carly joined. Let's see if we can admit her. All right, so let's do an audio check. Carly, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So we set this up over OBS to live stream with a Zoom capture. So I hope that all of the audio is coming through successfully. If not, we can try to patch that in for the replay. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you? Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Appreciate you taking time out of your day on Father's Day to join us. What I was just doing was going through the team winners. First place, second place, third place. We got to fourth place before you were able to join. So it's been a week. How are you feeling? What are some of the highlights? What an incredible event, right?
It was amazing. It took me a little bit to get acclimated back home, but I mean, I didn't race, so I'm fine. uh, Definitely a little adjustment on the time zone, but it's all good. But the race, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I don't even know where to begin. How special it was. Just connecting with the volunteers, connecting with the racers. It was truly unbelievable.
So, as the Mrs. Icon USA, representing USA, coming out, first of all, I appreciate your time. You dedicated a lot of time. You actually did some fundraising, and you were all in on this effort. What was your experience co-hosting this with me, and what did this mean to wear that crown and hold that title and represent this event, and what are the correlations there with just America and flags and patriotism?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. And I think it was, hold on, no, just bring this inside and make sure you put it in the fridge. Sorry. Um, I think it was really important to, get involved. It's the least that I can do, especially, representing USA. I've never been out to Colorado, so it was really special for me to be there. But overall, I just, to do my part to raise a little bit of money for the cause. And, I'm looking forward to doing that again. But I had such a great time and I thought it was really special the whole weekend.
Yeah, me too. Definitely long days. I remember there were times where we had to get up at like 4 a.m. and there were times where we were working till 1:30 in the morning. So, as a sleep organization, we wanted to make sure that the racers got sleep. But I think one of the things we can improve on next year in terms of organization and staff is ensuring that we as a staff get adequate sleep. I, I'm just now
Yes,
catching up on
sir.
my sleep. They say you can't catch up on your sleep um, and have a healthy sleep profile. But when you're sleep deprived, I think the best thing to do is get back on a regular sleep schedule. So I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to go to bed on time and get to sleep on time and slowly recover, but I'm still feeling it. Are you still feeling some of the effects of this wild weekend last weekend?
I think I'm finally better, but it took me until like probably Friday. I was exhausted, but for me, I'm getting up. My kids still have school, so it's nonstop go, 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 and getting down back into the work routine. So it definitely was an adjustment for me. And I would say like the time change, impacted me slightly, but I definitely was spent. And I do have a little bruise from my dip in the water, so that's all good.
We have those recordings up on socials and we'll add them everywhere we can. Carly and I both jumped in the cold water just like some of the teams did. That was one of the challenges, and we accepted that challenge. I'm really surprised that you did it, but you said it wasn't that bad, right?
It wasn't. It wasn't. And actually, funny enough, I was at the beach this morning and even yesterday, I just put my feet in the water and I've actually done photo shoots in the at the ocean, and it was much colder than the water that I jumped in Colorado. So I'm not scared of the water.
Yeah, truthfully, I think my trauma from the SEAL teams being very cold and wet a lot for years was worse than the actual act of jumping into the water. I was anticipating it, I was avoiding it. I could feel the chill on my spine before I even got in the water. And that's interesting because before I joined the Navy, I would go to the Natahale Outdoor Center in North Carolina and jump in the freezing cold bottom of the dam water that they control
Hmm.
at Fontana Dam. It's absolutely freezing. It's much colder, but it's just the psychological state, I think, for team guys. A lot of team guys will not go to the
Yeah.
beach, they will not get in the water. And I have to admit, like, it sends chills down my spine just thinking about it. So,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
before you have to jump off to enjoy Father's Day, it looks like we have a couple of people from our winning team, VetNet,
Yay!
who can
Woo!
join our Zoom call. So let's see if we can add them. Looks like Carly just dropped. We'll add her again if she comes back in. All right. Looks like we got Chris. Patrick may be on hold. I know you guys have been in the waiting room. Thanks for waiting on us. There's Carly.
It might be me. My dad already left, so I'm trying to get his Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's okay. So we do have Chris on the call. Now, Chris, not only are you 59, oldest guy to finish, I believe, absolute stud. You're part of the winning team. I know that you were a critical piece to this four-man team, but also you jumped in early. You did a lot of fundraising. You were one of our first supporters, and I appreciate you for that because we need those early starters to sort of get the ball moving and then everybody gets on board. So you have been a critical piece of this race from start to finish, both as a supporter, raising funds, as well as training, encouraging others to train, and then getting out there and proving to us that age doesn't matter. Training is the most important thing, and finishing and having that grit. But you have interesting stories to tell us because your experience was full of challenges. One in particular that comes to mind is your eating habits throughout the race. Do you want to tell us a little bit maybe about your eating throughout the race and your experience on those 3 days?
Yeah, sure. First of all, can you hear me? I want to make sure you can hear me because I'm sitting in a
Yep.
in a field in the middle of nowhere trying to catch up on some yacht mowing, I guess. Because we have been away for a little bit. Um yeah, so the eating it had nothing to do with the quality of the food that was presented. I mean, the first night was steak and chicken and it was awesome. That was really entirely unexpected. You have to really appreciate, first of all, just hats off to everyone who was involved in putting this together. What an effort. It was, it's such a small focused team that was, had a lot of determination to sort of make sure this event went off without a hitch. And I got to hand it to everyone. You really pulled it off. But yeah, so the night on Camp One, it was great. The chef Tim, I think, I'm trying to remember everyone's names here,
That's right.
cooked us a fabulous meal of chicken, a steak, potatoes, and I took it all in. And then no problem. Sleep was always difficult for me. I think the one piece of gear I really missed along the whole journey was a pillow. I sort of discounted how much one needs a pillow, to just get good quality sleep. So that's something I think I would revisit if I ever did something like this again. Um, uh, as far as you know, sort of how we were fueling and how I was fueling in particular on day one, trying to consume, conserve, but also consume as much water as possible. It was a very hot first day. And I was surviving pretty much on, different types of beta fuels that I had brought, that Nev, being his experience that he has also had on in his kit, he was helping me out with making sure I had enough carbs in me really throughout the whole race. That was sort of an issue for me. And by day two, I think my body, was under such duress. I consider myself to be a pretty trained individual. I try to train, whether it's doing, the thousands of miles of running and walking that is required to kind of see this through, or just be in the gym and hitting CrossFit or the pool swimming. I tried to really look after all that, but my body was not did just not accept any of the food that was offered to me. It was either too heavy. So really day two, and I didn't have anything to eat, so I was sort of in effect just my body was just consuming itself. I think for that next 48-hour period. I think by the what was it, third night, I think there was a stew that was offered to us, and I did take that in, thankfully, and that was really on the sort of that third camp night, if you will, the only night I got any kind of considerable amount of sleep. I probably kept half the tent up at the altitude there. I was snoring. Everybody around me said I was snoring. I was not apologetic. I really needed to get some sleep in. But yeah, so the whole race was really a challenge. Just trying to find ways to keep myself sustained.
That's incredible that you were able to face all those challenges and still complete this the way you did. Would you say that this was harder than you thought or easier than you thought? Were you completely prepared, or was there some other type of training that maybe you lacked that you would have done in hindsight?
Yeah, I think we did. We've talked. I think Christian talked about it quite um, eloquently. Our strategy going into it was to try to be as fast as light as we could. Um, as far as training, you know, I, s- you know, I think part of our success was we just were unrelentless in term. Once we sort of, I think, not all of us. I was sort of just always pulling up the rear as usual as a 59-year-old guy, trying to keep up. But I think once we sort of determined within ourselves, that we had a chance to win this thing, we really didn't stop. I think between aid stations, we would. Christian was very good at like watching the clock, making sure that we stopped just, and just long enough to take water. I mean, he'd be like, "Okay, we're stopping a minute." At this point, we finished a pretty good ascent up a big hill. Let's take 2 minutes here. So he was very on point and focus in terms of keeping us moving. Um, you know, for Nev's part, Nev was just like this Jedi master. I mean, he we sort of assigned him the lead navigation role, because we just knew he was, navigation is something that unless you do a lot of it and frequently and you're current on it, it's not something you can do on the fly. It's very difficult to do in the field, especially when you're given a new coordinate for like an aid station or something like that. So Ned was good at that. So, he really led us. He took us off course. Christian also did the same. He's like, let's see if we can't cut a mile out here. And that meant going straight up. That meant, crossing logs over rivers that were, if we had fallen, or if I had fallen, they would have been medevacing me out. It was probably 10, 15 feet above the water. The water level was only probably, 6 inches, and it was nothing but rock. So you're going to break something if you fell off that particular log. I think a couple other teams did it after us. I saw them going on there, sort of like straddling a thing. We did not straddle the thing. And again, Nev was like, Nev went across the log. You saw that, we had probably 15 miles in our legs that day. He saw I was struggling. With both the rifle and the pack. He literally came back across the log, grabbed the rifle, and just walked back again. So he was just quiet and capable. I don't know how really to any other way to explain it. It was just felt so comfortable being with him. Like I think everybody did. And then Patrick. Oh my gosh, Patrick is just specimen. Like he's over 200 pounds, but he can run like a marathon in under 3:30 probably. He was the person that carried the comms kit box probably, I would say, 75% of the way. I mean, I couldn't take that box on the uphills. He's a monster. So yeah, well trained. I wish I probably focused a little bit more on uphill endurance. You can run a lot. I'm in and around New York City, so I'm doing everything at sea level. Altitude, yeah, I don't think any of us were that impacted by the altitude. But certainly the uphills were grueling for me. I was feeling my age at different points, but nobody. I didn't complain. I just powered through it. So
what would you say was different about your team versus the other teams? Now, we know that half of the teams didn't make it halfway. But we had some
yeah,
pretty incredible studs that were training. We had fighters, we had runners, we had all types. What do you think was different about your training regiment or your team that allowed you to be so successful when others failed?
I think again going back to the light and fast strategy when we showed up. I mean, I think all of us were just looking to complete this race. There was no intention or thought in the beginning that we actually would have a chance to win it. When we showed up at camp, we were all, had the same sort of idea going into it. I always felt I had probably had the heaviest pack because I was packing a few extra things, like a couple slings and stuff I thought might come in handy along the way. Moleskin, bug spray, that kind of stuff all adds up in terms of weight. But you know, uh, I think I've lost my train of thought here. But yeah, yeah. So when I first got into Camp One, I looked around. I agree 100%. A bunch of studs. Every one of these guys was sort of just in sort of peak fitness. The I wasn't the oldest in the competition. There were a number of people that were in their 60s. Those guys, I think those 0 days had at least two individuals, maybe three that were, 60, 61, 62. What an inspiration those guys were. Unfortunately, Sam got hurt, and I think that created an issue for them early on. Bill Brown, oh my gosh, like the guy's just a stud. He unfortunately hurt himself. Um, I think the difference, def, dealing with the one for teams that maybe overpacked, were I think that became a real factor. But I think there was sort of this spirit that took our team over. We weren't. I can't recall one moment along the way, and there were many difficult moments along the way where there was an argument, a disagreement. We just really had this faith in one another that I certainly had faith in all three of them that we were going to pull through this. And I tried to sum things up yesterday in sort of the sort of the form summary you sent out was just that I think for anyone looking to do this race, you have to, first of all, don't show up without having put in the hours of training, and I do mean hours. I mean, I train constantly, probably run over 1,000 miles a year. I do different contests. Someone was asking me like how, like who I was and like how I even accomplished this at my age. I'm doing things like different VR races, like the Badwater 260 VR, like just to build a base of a fitness foundation at the beginning of the year. And that's, you have to run close to 300 miles in the month of January in the cold and the snow, just to build a baseline fitness for this. And then you have to start thinking about, again, depending on age, how do I build, joint muscles around my knees? There's going to be pull-up contests. I got to focus on upper body strength, um, stuff like that. But again, there was something that was driving us, each of us to just want to do it for one another. I certainly, when these guys were thinking that they were going to win, I wasn't going to be the guy that was going to deny them that opportunity. Me and Nev were like, no, we don't want to do that chili thing. We already got a ton of blisters. Like we knew doing that was could be detrimental to us. But when it got to those sort of that point in the race, I think we were so exhausted. It just didn't matter. We were just going to do whatever it took. We saw teams fading and like we had this momentum. Kristen was like, we got to get up early. We got to really be first in. We got to really play with their mind that way. Like, and it was like, so man, what an experience. And never to be, I encourage anyone to try it, but do not think that all this training that you're doing is going to be enough, because there's going to be something metaphysical that's going to take you across that physical line, something you didn't think of, because you're going to be broken. It's going to break you. And as you alluded to, Rob, I think you did the harder version of the course. So I don't know what participants are going to have to endure next year, but man, be prepared,
Well, I appreciate all those comments because that's exactly what I was going to ask. How do people prepare for this next year if they want to? We are going to expand this to 15 teams for this next year. We're already preparing the new course. I'd love to invite VetNet as the champions of the 2026 to come out and do the dry run with me. Obviously, if you're going to come do the dry run with me, you can't compete the next year on that exact course. And we can't have the platinum winners come back and compete as the same unified team. As a organization, we want to give somebody else a chance. You guys are studs and you proved it. But I'd like to talk about one last thing, and then we'll switch over to I want to share some of the things that you guys had to carry. I've got rifle shape here in the radio here. But my last question to you before we transition here is part of the thinking in designing this race was not just a tough race, because we had a lot of endurance athletes that showed up and they wanted to do this by themselves. And I understand the desire to do that, but we don't have individuals in the SEAL teams or the military. So, one of the things that I wanted to really instill in this was that in order to finish this, we have to work together as a team. That's a lesson that we learned in Bud's training in order to enter into the SEAL teams, and it's a lesson that I wanted everyone to learn through this race. And so, I guess my question to you is that, do you feel like every single person had to put out and sort of work as a one individual organism, four men put together in one complete unit in order to complete this race?
100%. Everybody had to put out, everybody has a weakness. This race, this adventure will find your weakness. The mountains will exploit your weakness. You have to do your best to contain whatever that is, and you need your brothers to help you, to pull you along the way. And again, at the end of the day, as I said before, you will winning this race at the end. You're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the other three people on your team, the wider community, whether you have Ryan Larkin on your mind at a certain point, you have family, you have your children, you might other teams. You saw the suffering at the different checkpoints and camps. People were really, like I said, they had busted knees and blisters, and you feel the weight of that responsibility, because a lot of these people, very few SEALs in particular, and there were a lot of SEALs that were there and ex-military, they show up physically damaged. These are not people that have, like me, that I've had my issues with training, but not, I've not broken my back parachuting or, been hurt in combat. I mean, they show up willing to do this for their fellow, um, you know, um, brothers that, aren't able to do it because either they are hurt physically, emotionally, or just didn't make it home. So, yeah, hopefully I've answered your question there.
Yeah. So I appreciate you, Chris. Carly, I wanted to give you a chance before we end the Zoom call and I transition back to wrapping up some of the details of this race for everybody who hasn't seen all the details. Carly, I wanted to give you a chance. Do you have any questions for Chris as one of the members of the winning team of this race?
So, guys, I had such great conversations with every single team member and team during registration. And one thing that I really loved about VetNet was just the personalities going into the race. And, Chris, I feel like you guys were all on the same page. And I loved that, Christian, when he was hopping into the chili dip, he's like, I'm doing this for my daughter. Like you said all that because it really,
Yeah.
being out there was really a family affair. And I think like we all became family. So, I just am so proud of you. Absolutely adore your team, and I'm so honored to be along there with you guys the whole time. So, if there's anything that you want to share that, Rob didn't maybe ask you, I'd love to hear your thoughts about, why you chose to do this race and why someone who's teetering back and forth and I might be in a different competition, but I'm the older person when it comes to competing in pageants. It's not normal to have a woman in their 40s, married with kids, compete. You and I are kind of on the same page. So what would you tell someone that's on that fence about wanting to join?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely do it. Um, you'll come out of it a changed person. Maybe there's something I was out last night and someone said to me, well, why do you why do you put yourself through such? You must love suffering. Like, why do you try and endure? You know, he knows that I do the SEAL swim. He knows that I other endurance things. Why do you do it? You know, for me, it taps it. You know, it's really hard to explain, I guess. You know, it's an endorphin rush on some level. I love finding different ways to think about, you know, like hardening my mindset. But these veteran sponsored events that I participate in, I really try. I did not serve the tree, but and so I've met a lot of people who have, and I really show up for them because it's you know on there's a lot of suffering that people go through that a lot of us that haven't been in the military are unaware of. So I like being close to that, um, and that I can do to sort of help um, people along the way. It makes me feel very good. So there's a little selfishness in there in doing it, but yeah, I encourage anyone to whether you get invited or not, if you go through the ritual, the training, you'll come out of it a better person um, on some level. So
Absolutely. And you know what? You guys inspired me. I took a little over 2 mile walk on the boards and the beaches this morning. So, I'll be in better shape next
yeah,
year.
yeah. All right.
Excellent. So
I'm waiting for the all girl team, but yeah.
that's right.
I'll be rooting them on. You don't want me on your team.
We do.
That,
It was like not aggressive, dude.
We do have an all-girls
that com
team that we think is going to join for this next year. But Chris, you have inspired a lot of people, and you raised funds to help veterans and first responders, so you did make an impact. So final question before we jump off the Zoom call and I transition back to talking about the mechanics of this race. So we have one of our friends, Bill Brown. Are you going to be at the Bill Brown New York City Navy SEAL Swim sponsored by Beyond the Brotherhood?
Absolutely. I've been there for five. This all started with Bill Brown, on a swim I didn't know that I was doing 5 or 6 years ago. I thought I was, doing a small little swim to qualify for the race. We ended up swimming across the entire Hudson, myself and 3 or 4 other good swimmers. So again, it was sort of the beginning of it was the wake up call to all this, and I'm always inspired by that swim and inspired by all the things that are sort of happening because of it. I think this race came together because of it. Just those sort of showed people that it is possible. If you believe in something, enough, you know, um, people will find you. So
Well, I think Carly and I have agreed to live stream the swim. So I'll see you there on August 15th in Jersey City.
So excited, Chris. I can't
all
wait to
right,
see
we'll be
see
there.
you guys.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a lot shorter trip. I just want to one last thing. I want to just
Sure.
shout out to the people of Telluride and the people of Montrose to say, first of all, thank you, and secondly, support this race. I mean, we after the race, we stopped in a couple restaurants. People knew it was kind of happening, but when we sort of told our story, and in one of the restaurants that we visited, and everybody is sending. Embrace this race. It's awesome. I think, and it is truly aligns with I think what Telluride is all about. So thank you. Thanks again for having me on. I hope I didn't talk too long, and so
It was great to hear from you. Okay, excellent. I will see you in Jersey City in a couple of months. And thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
yeah. Be well. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.
Take care. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Specifically, we have, let's see, here we are. So we have Zway, Z-W-A-Y, and this is some friends of mine, Tom and Liz Slade, father and daughter, incredible people, and Tom's been a colleague of mine for many years. You see that they have the Ryan Larkin race up on their website, front and center. Thank you for doing that. But what they have is a product, and they were our anchor sponsor, and I think it's perfect because I have run a sleep organization for the last decade. We've helped a lot of people with sleep. Tom is a colleague working on this incredible bed. Their product is a bed that sways slightly. And if any of you have ever been on a boat, you know how that feels. There's a slight sway to it. Now, take away any of the seasickness. This is very gentle. This is very slow rocking. Think of it like a crib, a cradle for a child, right? That puts into sleep instantly. That same mechanism is within all of us as adults. And so for the last 10 years or so, he's been engineering and developing this incredible bed. And basically, this thing, you can see it. It slowly rocks and it doesn't take up much space. It's slightly larger than a regular bed because it moves left and right, but otherwise it fits into a normal bed space. All four of the winners, VetNet, were awarded one of these beds. The four beds totaling roughly $50,000 given to them. But I got to tell you, as a sleep scientist and somebody who's worked in this space for a long time, this was actually the first time I had a chance to test it. Tom and Liz came out to the event at registration and literally shipped their bed there, so everyone had a chance to lay on it. And when I laid on it, I'm very sensitive. I instantly felt, oh yeah, this is a big deal. It's one thing to read the scientific journals and the research indicating that it would work, and it's another thing to just lay on this and feel it. So I encourage all of you to check out ZWAYsleep.com, zwaysleep.com. This is an incredible product that's going to change everything for people. Also, I want to thank some of our other sponsors, Alpine Bank, the local bank in Colorado. They were one of our sponsors with supporting funding for food, as well as the finish line, as well as a tent for one of our aid stations, and just being a strong supporter in the community. It's important to have community involvement. And as I promised to Alpine Bank, we will be supporting veterans and first responders local in the area before we reach out to other parts of the country. We also had Bub's Naturals. They gave some of the electrolytes. We had Stop Pain, which gave a gel that many people put on their knees and their ankles and everything that hurt. Andy Arabito with Half Face Blades. Thank you, brother. Former SEAL. He has an incredibly successful knife company. He gave us some of the knives that we were able to auction off. And the list goes on and on of supporters. Brahm with Braven Bar, the South African Special Forces Tarzan bar that's been reinvented and is now coming to market in the United States. People survived on those things. They're incredibly good. The True Energy Bar for when you're moving and racing and burning energy and stuff like that. So I wanted to make sure and give a shout out to those sponsors. We also want to thank U.S. Forest Service for supporting us, Bureau of Land Management, the town of Telluride. We got a permit through them, as well as San Miguel County Parks and Bridges and roads. Multiple organizations. We had 6 contracts with different organizations to be able to make this race happen. And so all in all, we were able to hit our goal in fundraising and exceed that. Almost every single team, all but one, exceeded their overall goal, and some people almost doubled it, as you'll see as we jump back to the page and explore the other teams. So if I forgot anybody, I sincerely apologize on sponsors. I will make sure and give you some kudos. The next group I want to thank is my volunteers. You guys know who you are. This was an incredible, difficult journey. Everybody from Teresa, the director of volunteers, Cindy, the director of administration, Tim, our chef, who came in and cooked just amazing meals. Kevin, oh my goodness, this website, this live stream, the trackers, the custom trackers, I have them around here somewhere. We had our own custom tracking system to present a live map so everyone at home, including my mom, could see where everyone was at in real time and then see the live stream and see the leaderboard. That was all Kevin. Kevin is a professional web developer. He works for a software company, and then if you're lucky, you can get him to work on your website as well. We also had Alvaro, who did the medical plan leading up to this, Dr. Ramos. We had the supervisors, Brent, former SEAL. He's got the Two Promises podcast. He came and did supervisor duties in the morning. Doug, who took over on the ground medical and acted as a supervisor throughout the day shift, and Terry, who was the nighttime supervisor. Those guys had 24-hour coverage. We had someone responsible at all times. We also have lots of other volunteers. Colt, you're a rock star. Ron, you're a rock star. Thank you, Candy. You're very helpful. Let's see, am I forgetting anybody else? There's so many people. Mike, thank you for being the camp boss and making sure that our massive box truck full of all that stuff. The list goes on, and my apologies if I forgot any volunteers. All of you are very important and meaningful. Of course, Frank Larkin, Ryan's dad, came out to speak. Of course, Dan Weaver, how can I forget? Dan Weaver, former SEAL, spoke on Operation Red Wings and came out, and it was a big help with the entire operation behind the scenes doing the volunteer work. Bill Brown, thank you for coming out and supporting my event. I've supported your event, the New York City SEAL Swim that we just advertised a moment ago. Came out here and did it. All of the racers, you guys did it. Not only did you raise all the funds that we need to support those veterans and first responders that are waiting on support, but you came out, you gave it your all, and you did your best. I think even if you didn't finish, this was a team bonding experience full of fellowship and God and nature, and everyone just felt that. Also, Donovan Chapman, thank you for coming out and singing. That was incredible. I just was blown away that we were able to pull that off. And I think you're still on tour right now, so I hope that you're doing well. And I think we may have convinced you to come out to New York City for August 15th and maybe jump in the water. That'll be fun. Everyone involved with this, Janet, how can I forget? The director of racers, helped all the racers understand the information that they needed and get out there on site and support any of their needs. You're also Ryan's friend and told your story. Gosh, there's just so many people. Rick and John coming out with your razors as local community supporters to help move around sandbags and the jerry cans. Kevin at GoRuck, thank you so much. Huge, huge sponsor. You provided a lot of the materials for us to be able to do this event. Also, John, former SEAL, John Brown over at Telluride Fire, gave us the pull-up bars from his gym. He's got a Goje CrossFit and Jiu-Jitsu. Local guy, very helpful, and you helped receive all of my mail. Thank you. We had a lot of stuff coming through the mail for this event. And the list goes on and on. I have just been blown away at the support we've gotten, and I couldn't be more thankful. So let's pop into the website again, and let's finish looking at some of the teams. We had just finished talking about inch to mile and bottom dwellers. We also have basically Pug, which I mentioned is one of my homies from the SEAL teams, Wade. He also raised, their team blew it out the door, raised $12,110. Thank you very much. And then also we have Look for Work. Now I thought Look for Work was also a potential first place finisher, yet some of the team members encountered some serious challenges on day one, and unfortunately that team was not able to finish. But Chris Call was the second person to cross that finish line on day three, a part of the Look for Work team, and those guys were able to raise $6,752. Thank you so much for doing that. We also have Shackleton's Ghost, incredible individuals. Now, these guys have an amazing story. They did raise over $10,000. That was incredible. Anthony Seifert, he's a former Navy guy. He actually swims the New York City SEAL Swim with us. A lot of the folks here you'll see in New York City. And then Mark was unable to make it, but he was a very big supporter. Thank you very much for the journey and all your support. And then these two guys, Jet and Ryan, they're both Penn State students in the ROTC program, and they want to be SEALs. I want to say Ryan's going to go off to the SEAL officer program here soon, and Jet is going to enlist and try to take the enlisted route into the SEAL teams. It's a critical choice. Which direction do you want to go? But getting into the SEAL teams is not guaranteed to anyone and is very difficult. Now, they are part of the RDAC program. I want to give a shout out to the RDAC program up there in New England. They have a 70% success rate in getting guys into the SEAL teams. I've never seen anything like it. Typically, you cannot guarantee anything like that, but their program put Brendan Looney through the famous SEAL that we lost in Extortion 17, as well as, I want to say, Mike Mansour, and several other notable SEALs have been through this program. Great program. Went out and spoke to them about sleep this last year. We can't forget about 220. 220 is an organization helping veterans and first responders out there. We love that organization, and I'm a part of that organization, and so is Bill Brown. So they wanted to name their team after 220 to build awareness. Pam is running that organization, and she's helping people actively right now. So they absolutely blew their fundraising goal, or at least hit it at the last minute. That was perfect. On that team is also Scott and Joshua, as well as my friend Gregory, who's a former SEAL and sniper. Getting back to No Zero Days. No Zero Days is an incredible team. They had 3 guys, I think, that were roughly 62, 63 years old. We definitely thought that they were going to finish this, but there were some early challenges that they faced, which were unavoidable, that precluded their team from finishing. But they did have one finisher. I believe that was Sean here, did finish solo, and that was an incredible finish. That was amazing. And they are the #1 fundraisers for this event, coming in at $16,550. We appreciate you guys. This was an incredible event. You are changing lives actively with the work that you did to support us through the fundraising. And I think you guys learned a lot and bonded together. And I hope you had a really good experience. Over here, we've got Relentless. Now, Relentless did exceed their goal. They did come in with an incredible team. We did think that they were going to potentially be on the podium as a team. However, they also encountered some serious challenges on day one. However, they maintained, support for the event after they stepped down and kind of rolled into the volunteer team. Especially Thomas there was helping out. And then Andrew Peluso was the first person to finish the event by himself on day 3. Unfortunately, because it was just him remaining, we weren't able to give his team a placement. You have to start together and finish together. That's the rules. But Andrew, what an incredible accomplishment. I think he did it 3 hours earlier than we expected. We were racing. We couldn't even get up everything at the finish line to receive him in time. We had to move around the fire trucks and the law enforcement, the patrol cars. It was crazy. These guys were going so fast. So I'm really proud of you, Andrew. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for crushing this race. And then finally, I do want to give a shout out to Hebrew Hammers, my friends Maxim, Vlad, Nikita, and Amit. Unfortunately, they had some issues with the reserve being called to duty for the fighting going on with Hezbollah to the north of Israel. These are Israeli Shayatet 13 Israeli Navy SEALs, as well as other IDF members. They exceeded their goal. They raised funds for us. We appreciate you. And I just want to say for a moment that we must keep solidarity amongst our allies. And these folks are good men fighting for a good cause against terrorism. And we should all just be thankful that everything is so safe and so predictable in the United States. Sure, we have our shootings. Sure, we have our challenges in the United States. It's never going to be perfect. But I thank God every night that I can go to bed without having to worry about a bomb dropping where I live. I can sit in relative peace in nature. And for those reasons, I'm happy and I don't have any real problems in life, right? So my hats are off to you guys at Hebrew Hammers. Thank you for what you do. Shalom. Now, we're over an hour now, but I want to, for those of you that potentially are wanting to know more about the race, maybe you want to race next year, you want to know the details. Now, I will tell you, next year's race will be different. So I can't guarantee you that any of this stuff is going to be completely useful, but I do want to share with you some of the mechanics of what we did on this race so you can better prepare yourself mentally. So first of all, we were at roughly 10,000 feet. We did start around 6,500 and there was a degree of incline, ups and downs, and so there's a lot of rocky terrain. People twisted their ankles, people stepped on cactuses. You got to watch out for snakes, scorpions. We do have mountain lions and bears, although they do typically stay away. And in fact, sometimes the elk and especially the moose could be your biggest threat if you, in the unlikely event you encounter those. But I wanted to share with you some of the things that we did on this event. We wanted this to be a military simulation. And so with that, we asked everyone to wear military type clothing. And that means no bright colors, no cotopaxi, wear like a camouflage backpack, things like that. It was kind of loose, but we wanted this to feel and look like a military operation. And of course, I can't go on without saying that in the SEAL teams, sometimes we are not in uniform. And in fact, most of the time, our gear is completely customized and it looks a lot like what you saw on the race. But I want to share with you guys, this is not a real gun. Nothing to be alarmed by. This is actually a polyurethane mold. This is meant to simulate the weight and size and shape and encumbrance. This is one of the racers. This might have been Thomas Peters. I'm not sure whose was. Every single racer carried one of these, and they built their own slings. They put them on there, and they wore it. I remember carrying this this weapon. Actually, I carried a Mark 48, but also the M4. Carrying this many times on many patrols. And I wanted guys, especially patriots that didn't serve in the military, I wanted guys to know what it feels like to be on a patrol with that daggum weapon. Even if you don't shoot it, it is a huge encumbrance, but it is a life-saving device. So in this race, it didn't do anything except for become an encumbrance, a weight, and kind of a pain in the butt. And so I wanted guys to feel how that puts your cadence off, how it adds a little bit of weight, how it's uncomfortable, how it jabs you, how it's just a pain to be able to have to carry that. And so that was one of the elements. So each person carried that throughout the entire race. And then we also had this. These are big ammo can radios. And this says, caution, stay back 100 feet. Or 100 yards in Arabic. They taught me to speak Arabic in the Navy SEAL teams. And then inside of this box, let me open up this ammo can. I have the heaviest possible battery and GMRS radio that you can imagine. So the teams would literally take this. It's battery powered, so it always works until it dies. They put their antenna right here. They'd come out here, and we would get radio check. And so with that, these teams were required to carry this, which, I mean, I'm feeling it now. I think this is about 25, 30 pounds. It's not light. And a huge encumbrance. Not only is it heavy, but it's awkward. And so the scenario was, we're in an enemy country, right? The scenario is very important, and I'll tell you why later. So we're in enemy country as a Navy SEAL fire team going to take down a very bad terrorist, a guy that we got an intel package from. So we have the intel package, we're going after this guy, and the race starts when the mission goes bad. We have an assault, we lose everything, we go Winchester, we have no more bullets to use, and our radios are damaged, it's a total loss, and we have to escape and evade. Right, so now we're on E&E, and each of the fire teams is operating on their own individual plan, but all of us are within the same scenario. And they have to get out of there really, really fast. And so in the beginning, it was very rugged terrain, which it kind of reminds me of Operation Red Wings and the tragedy we had in the SEAL teams there. And those men in the SEAL teams that lost their lives. And so they're immediately shot off target and they have to get out of there. And then they have to find an enemy cache with these radios. So they're basically commandeering these enemy radios, and then they will carry them throughout the entire race. But the next day, they'll actually use those radios to make a communication with the coalition forces. So there's somebody on the other end of that radio waiting on them to call within a specific time window. Every team had a different time window. They make the call, they try to make comms. If they fail, they have to try again. And once they make communication, successful communication with the other side, the coalition forces within enemy territories, they are going to get the coordinates to make it to a secret rat line. What is a rat line? Anyone who lives down in San Diego on the border knows what a rat line is. It's how illegals get into country, but it's also how we get out of country. So in this scenario, we are in an enemy territory. We have to get out of this country safely without getting captured, right? And in order to do that, we have to use secret rat lines to be able to get out of the country safely and into the safe country. So the objective here is to find the location where they can meet with the coalition forces. They're going to give a bona fides, so they're getting all of this over the radio, and they have to give that secret password, that bona fides, to the coalition forces so we know we're on the same page. And then at that point, they boarded a troop carrier and were snuck out of country through the rat line. That rat line led to the safe country, and eventually for this race led to day 3. And then, of course, as they finish day 3 and get to the finish line, that simulates the rally point and extraction point where they get back to safety. When they arrived at Telluride High School for the finish line, it was National Flag Day. All of them put up these shapes before they went into Telluride and grabbed big American flags and ran those into Telluride for the last 3-mile stretch. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. If you haven't had a chance to look at the photos, go to our website at www.rliar.org/gallery. We're going to start having all of those videos and photos posted. It was the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I mean, it's like guys that are sweaty and tired in military gear carrying American flags on National Flag Day, right? It was June 14th of 2026, which is part of the legacy of June 14th, 1774, I believe. I want to say it was, or no, it was 1778. Anyways, it was close to the ratification of the American flag was very close to 1776 when we had our American Revolution. But in 1776, we became a country, and then I think shortly thereafter, we adopted the American flag, and that was on June 14th. So June 14th on Sunday, that was our National Flag Day, and we couldn't have had a more proud representation of our flag. Every single person that finished was carrying that flag. We had Telluride Fire. Thank you, Telluride Fire, for coming out and hosting that massive American flag on their fire truck. And also Telluride Marshals for bringing out the patrol cars. And what a patriotic American pride finish as they came to Telluride High School. David, thank you for hosting us over at Telluride High School. You were critical in helping this race finish successfully. And overall, I just think that this went really well. So forecasting next year, we will be accepting applications of teams of 4 and individuals. We'll keep individuals on the back burner in case teams drop an individual and they need somebody, so you can register both ways. But that registration will not open up until January. We don't have an exact date yet, but basically we'll open up registration in January. We'll allow as many applications as we can take. And then 2 months later, we will make the announcement of which teams are selected. Next year, we're going to select 15 teams of 4. So instead of 40 people out there, it'll be 60 people out there. I feel comfortable managing that many people for next year. And then from that point on, you'll have 3 months to raise funds. I think it'll be the same thing, 5,000 minimum to be able to show up, and 10,000 is the goal. And with that, there's no entry fees. The only cost right now that you're looking at is getting your gear together and figuring out a way to show up. You can drive, you can fly, you can do whatever. If racing this event is not in your future, I strongly encourage you to donate, to support, to show up to the race as a spectator, to share our content on social media, or just to watch the live streams. If your mom or grandma watching your son go do the race, you can actually participate in this event by watching it and seeing it. We're tracking all the numbers of viewers as they come to the website. Just a little tidbit, I want to throw this out for Kevin for doing such a good job. We had 12,000 unique new visitors to our website during the event. That's a lot. And 7,000 of them went to the team pages to read their story. These stories are compelling. You can still go read them now. As well as, I think it was 3,000 that watched the live stream. Guys, these are incredible numbers for unique visitors and live interactions on a website that we just built recently. So this is not YouTube, this is not social media. We don't have an audience that exists already that we can push towards. This is a brand new website with brand new SEO that nobody's ever heard of, that's never been used before, and we put those numbers up. Now this is year one, it's just the beginning. Next year is going to be insane. So the point will not be, at that point, won't be to promote this and sort of try to get people to see what we're doing, but it's actually going to be to hold the gate and make sure that we don't have too many people involved, or make sure that we have the right people involved. We do want to stick to our values. We do want people that believe in America, that have the same value structure, and that's very, very important to us. So anyways, thank you for tuning in. That's about all I have for today. I think the race was overall a success. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. My email is ryanlarkinrace@gmail.com. And we're happy to field questions. One last thing, for all of my sponsors and donors out there that are waiting on coins and shirts, I have the shirts. But the challenge is I've got roughly 300 packages to send out. So I'm sending out the coins, I'm sending out the shirts, and those of you that won the auction items, don't forget we had an entire donor prediction system games going on this that actually impacted the scores for the teams. You can be a part of that next year. I think we're actually going to expand it to more donors next year. But those people that played the games got the auction items, incredible auction items. I'm going to be shipping those to your house. So I ask you just please be patient with me. We had an overwhelming number of supporters that came out, and so I've got my work cut out for me. But I will get those items out to you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on our next live stream. Take care.